Let us talk about loops in Python. In Python, we have two types of loops, while loops and for loops. Today we will discuss about while loops. While loop will execute a set of statements as long as a condition is true. Let's see how we can write while loops. To write the while loop, we mention the keyword while and then we need to mention the condition. Here we will write the condition colon and then down below we will provide set of statements which needs to be executed when the condition is true. Let's say this is statement 1, then we have statement 2. Okay, like this. We can have as many statements as we need. So now the while loop will check this condition. As long as this condition is true, this set of statements will be executed. Whenever this condition is false, then it stops executing these statements. Let us take this example. We have a variable I where the value of y is 1. Now we are writing the while loop. We are checking whether I is lesser than 6 or not. If this is true, then we will execute these two statements inside that loop. So since I is lesser than 6, this condition is true. So the statements inside the while loop will be executed. Let me execute the code. Now we see on the console 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is printed. So initially I is 1. So this condition is true. Since that is true, this piece of code is executed. So I is printed, I is 1 is printed to the console, and then we are incrementing the I by 1. Initially I is 1, and when we add 1 to the I, 1 plus 1 it becomes 2. Again 2 lesser than 6 as it is true. So we will print 2 and then we will add 1 to that 2. So 2 plus 1 3. 3 lesser than 6 as it is. So 3 will be printed, I becomes 4 and then 4 will be printed, 4 becomes 5, 5 will be printed, 5 plus 1 6. So this time 6 lesser than 6. This condition is false, which is why statements inside the while loop will not be executed. While writing the while loops, we should be very careful. If you see, we are incrementing I by 1. If we don't do that, while loop will be forever running. It will never stop, right? Which is why we need to have the stopping condition as well. So if I don't add this, let me comment it out. If we execute the code, we see it is keep on printing. It will never be stopped because I is always 1 and I lesser than 6 will always return true. So this statement will always be executing. We need to remember incrementing this variable, otherwise this while loop will always be running. There are two keywords which we can use in these loops. One is break and one is continue. Break keyword can be used to stop the loop even if the condition is true. After break, none of the iterations will be executed. The execution of this while loop is completed. Break will just break the while loop. Whenever I is equals to 3, we need to break the iterations. No matter how many iterations are left, we just want to break the loop. So we can use this keyword to break the loop. We can see whenever I is equals to 3, the break keyword is breaking the loop. Once break statement is executed inside the loop will get broken. No more iterations will be executed. The break keyword will break the loop, which is why it directly jumps to the next line. Print statement is executed. In the same way, we have continue as well. Continue will not break the entire loop. Instead, it will just skip the current iteration and go with the next iteration. Here we can see we have created I which is equals to 0, and then we are creating while loop. It has the condition where we are checking whether I is lesser than 6 or not, and then each time we are incrementing the I by 1. If I is equals to 3, then we wanted to continue, which means we wanted to break the current iteration and continue with the next iteration, and then ultimately we are printing the I. Let's see what will happen when we execute this code. We see that 1, 2 is printed, 4, 5, 6 is printed, but 3 is missing because if I equals to 3, we wanted to continue. Whenever this condition is true, we wanted to continue, which means any other statements which needs to be executed inside the while loop will be ignored, which is why 3 is not printed. It will continue with the next value. We can also have else block for these loops. Else loop is over. So as long as this condition is true, these statements will be executed. Whenever this condition is false, it will jump into else block. This statement will be executed. Let me execute this. We see 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Then finally loop is over. Else block is executed. But one thing, if we break the loop, then else block will not be executed. If I just go with break here, execute it, we see that else block is not executed. Else block will be executed only when there is no break statement. And as long as while condition is true, statements inside the while loop will be executed. Whenever the condition is false, then it will jump into else block. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. See you in next video.